Well, ladies and gentlemen, it would appear as if one of the Democrats' top politicians, Boston Mayor Michelle Wu, has some very suspicious connections to none other than the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. You see, according to a breaking report, Michelle Wu's 2021 campaign accepted over $300,000 from a man named Gary Yu, who, by the way, is a documented Chinese Communist Party intelligence official. Not a lobbyist, not some random donor, a CCP operative. Let that sink in for a moment. Now, this isn't just suspicious fundraising. No, this is direct foreign influence straight out of Beijing, pouring money into the campaign coffers of a sitting US mayor. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a calculated and deliberate breach of public trust, and it should absolutely terrify anyone who cares about our country's national security. Now, for anyone unfamiliar, this guy Gary Yu is tied directly to the United Front Work Department, a CCP-run influence and intelligence arm used to infiltrate foreign governments and manipulate politics abroad. And so guess what? Mayor Michelle Wu knowingly accepted these CCP-linked funds, opening the door to foreign leverage over an entire American city. And when you combine that with her far-left policies and sanctuary city status, you've got a recipe for a serious national security disaster. In fact, just listen to what Mayor Michelle Wu had to say herself about her ongoing effort to harbor illegal immigrant criminals in the city of Boston.
What do you say to the people who, in your constituency, who might feel like, hey, why are we doing this? What's the big deal with this sanctuary city thing? If people are illegally in the country, shouldn't we arrest them and get rid of them? What is the big deal?
Yeah, we are, again, we're the safest city because we're safe for everyone. In a community where over a quarter of your residents were born in another country, if people are afraid to drop their kids off at school or call 911 when they need help or share information when they actually have information to report about a crime that happened, that makes everyone less safe, whether or not you are an immigrant, whether or not you're here in this country 6 generations or just arrived. So we're really focused on being that home for everyone, and it's worked. And so all of the buzz around, whether these kinds of cities that are more welcoming for immigrants are more dangerous, it's about a false narrative that immigrants are somehow more likely to commit crimes or cause harm, and that is just simply not true. We know that in our city, where our immigrant communities are entrepreneurs, are holding up the best hospitals in the country, the universities and jobs that we all rely on. And in order to make sure that we can keep that progress going, everyone has to feel part of it.
You hear that, ladies and gentlemen? What she's trying to do here is the classic progressive two-step. She's trying to conflate illegal immigrants that are in the country illegally, they are criminals, with legal immigrants that have entered the country legally, as if they're one and the same. And so now that we know for a fact that she took money from the CCP, that sort of rhetoric starts to make a lot more sense. Because let's be very clear, Mayor Michelle Wu's anti-Trump, anti-border policies align perfectly with the CCP's goal of destabilizing American sovereignty. And you know what? That's not just a coincidence. This is a deliberate strategy, a strategy to erode America from the inside using our own politicians as a vehicle. And what better politician to exploit than some useful idiot like Mayor Michelle Wu? A radical progressive, a sanctuary city advocate, and now a documented recipient of CCP money. And hey, let's not forget, I'm going to say the quiet part out loud here, the CCP targets ethnic Chinese officials specifically for their recruitment, not because they care about representation or diversity, but because it gives them a cultural in. They exploit identity politics in order to create a pipeline of CCP influence in America, and Michelle Wu is a textbook example of that tactic at work. And as for Mayor Michelle Wu's policies, they look less like American leadership and more like CCP influence operations dressed up in progressive buzzwords. Let's just call it what it is. Michelle Wu's radicalism is foreign funded, period. And so, hey, personally, I hope the Department of Justice takes this situation very seriously, because if you have a sitting U.S. mayor of a city like Boston, a big city, taking CCP money, that's not a state level issue, that is a national security threat. And so, hey, let me ask the obvious question here. Why is the left-wing media silent about all of this? Why is no one in the progressive media talking about a sitting United States mayor being compromised by the Chinese Communist Party? It's because the progressive media doesn't care. They're more interested in running cover for progressive elites than protecting the American people from CCP influence. If this were a Republican caught taking foreign money from Russian officials, for instance, it would be wall-to-wall coverage for months. But since it's a Democrat and it's money from the CCP, crickets. And so now, all of Michelle Wu's radical progressive behavior makes perfect sense. Michelle Wu's refusal to work with ICE, her refusal to enforce immigration laws, her vocal opposition to America First policies, now we know exactly why. She's not working for the United States, she is working for the CCP. And you know what? None other than Tom Homan, our country's legendary border czar, actually has a little bit of a history with none other than Mayor Michelle Wu. Take a look at this.
What's your message to the sanctuary city mayors? What would you say to them?
Well, look, I met with the House Republicans yesterday and went over sanctuary cities and the dangers of sanctuary cities. Sanctuary city mayors are going to say this. We're a sanctuary city, we're a welcoming community, because we want victims and witnesses of a crime to feel comfortable coming to the police and report a crime as a victim or witness without worry we're working with ICE. That is a false narrative, because victims and witnesses of crime do not want the bad guy back in the community. They would much rather this person be taken in custody of ICE after the county's done with them. That's the message. Sanctuaries are sanctuary criminals. And as far as the mayor of Boston saying safest city, well, I know 9 children that would disagree with her. 9 parents, sets of parents whose children were sexually assaulted, raped by people who are not supposed to be here in the country legally. So we're going to provide real examples of people that they released from custody in these sanctuary cities that ICE took a lot of time to find these people and take them off the streets. And who knows how many children were attacked by these people between the time the county released them and ICE was able to find them, because sometimes it takes months. So we're going to present real life situations on real victims of real illegal immigration crime.
So folks, I just have to say it. How many other progressive politicians across the country are compromised by the CCP? Just how many other progressive politicians are quietly and secretly accepting cash from the Chinese Communist Party while pretending to serve the American people? You know what I have to say? I think we need a full-scale FCC and DOJ investigation into every single progressive politician across the entire country. Because if Mayor Michelle Wu is compromised, you can bet your bottom dollar that she's not the only one. And hey, really when it comes down to it, this is the mission statement of America First: to root out corruption, to defend our country's sovereignty, and to expose every single sellout politician that puts foreign influence ahead of the best interests of Americans. Because here's the cold hard truth. Mayor Michelle Wu didn't just betray Boston. No, she betrayed every single American citizen who believes their leaders should represent them and not the Chinese Communist Party. And so you know what? If this entire situation isn't a wake-up call for Americans that are kind of sitting on the fence right now, I don't know what is. The CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, is quite literally buying off senior-ranking American politicians. And as we now know, the progressive left is happily going along with it and cashing the checks. And so you know what? Like I said earlier, personally, I hope the DOJ gets involved, I hope the FCC gets involved, and I hope that Mayor Michelle Wu gets sent packing. Because you know what? In this country, Mayor Michelle Wu, we put America first, not the CCP first. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we wrap up with today's video, I want to say real quick that I've actually gone ahead and made a community Facebook page where I'll be posting additional news and updates as it relates to all of this. So hey, if you guys use Facebook, check out the pinned comment down below and give that page a follow. But everyone, that is going to be a wrap for today's video, so please go down below and drop a comment. Let me know what you think about all of this. Please like the video while you're down there. Also, please consider subscribing to the channel if you guys enjoy the daily news updates. It really does help a ton. Thank you all very much for tuning in today, and of course, as always, stay safe.